The shotgun blast echoed through the quiet streets of Elmwood, Ohio, shattering the lazy hum of cicadas on that sweltering July afternoon. Michael Harlan slumped against the splintered oak door of his childhood home, blood blooming dark across his white cotton shirt like an accusation he couldn't outrun. "You think this changes anything, boy?" His father's voice rasped from the porch, the barrel of the old Remington still smoking in his gnarled hands. But it did change everything, because in that split second, as Michael's vision blurred with tears and pain, he swore he'd never let hate win again. Not in his town. Not in his heart. That was 20 years ago, back when Elmwood was just another forgotten dot on the map. A place where cornfields stretched like endless regrets and folks whispered about the Harlan boy who'd up and left after his daddy's accident with the hunting rifle. Michael had been 18, raw-boned and furious, with dreams bigger than the rusted silos that dotted the horizon. He'd hitchhiked to Cleveland first, then scraped his way through community college on scholarships and odd jobs, bartending at dive bars where the drunks called him "pretty boy," with a leer that made his skin crawl. But he learned to smile through it, to channel the fire in his gut into something sharper. Law school at Ohio State, nights poring over case files by the flicker of a desk lamp, vowing to dismantle the kind of bigotry that had stolen his father from him in all but name. By 35, Michael Harlan was back in Elmwood, not as the broken kid who'd fled, but as the man who'd clawed his way to City Hall. Mayor. The word still tasted like redemption on his tongue. He'd won the election on a platform of one Elmwood, for all, pothole fixes for the trailer parks, community gardens in the food deserts, and quiet pushes for inclusivity that ruffled feathers without starting wars. Elmwood wasn't ready for rainbows on Main Street, but under Michael's steady hand, the annual fair now had a booth for the local LGBTQ+ youth group, and the library stocked books that didn't shy from stories like his. He moved into a modest Victorian on Maple Lane, the same street where Old Man Whitaker still glared from his wraparound porch, shotgun propped like a sentinel. Whitaker. The name alone soured Michael's coffee every morning. Harold Whitaker, 72 and mean as a dry creek bed, had been Elmwood's unofficial gatekeeper of grievance for decades. Widowed young, childless, he filled his days with Fox News reruns and letters to the editor decrying, "The queers ruining our values." Michael had crossed paths with him early, first as a kid, when Whitaker chased him off the lawn for looking funny, and later as mayor, when Whitaker stormed council meetings to rant about illegal immigrants stealing jobs that no one in Elmwood was lining up for anyway. But Michael played it cool, nodding through the tirades, filing them away like exhibits in a trial he wasn't ready to bring. Then came Samuel. Samuel Reyes had rolled into Elmwood like a summer storm, dark-haired, olive-skinned, with eyes like polished obsidian that could pin you in place or melt you with a glance. 28, a graphic designer from Chicago. He'd come for the quiet after a messy breakup, renting the little blue bungalow next to Michael's under a lease that smelled faintly of fresh starts. Their first meeting was pure Midwest serendipity. Michael's ancient Ford pickup sputtering to a halt on Maple Lane, hood up, sweat soaking his button down as he cursed the radiator. Samuel, out for a jog in neon shorts that hugged his runner's legs, slowed to a stop, hands on his knees, catching his breath with a grin that lit the dusk. "Need a hand, neighbor? Or should I call AAA and pretend I'm not eavesdropping on your one-man symphony of swears?" Michael straightened, wiping grease on a rag, and felt the world tilt. Samuel's accent was city sharp, laced with that effortless charm that said he'd seen the world's edges and come out smiling. Only if you know your way around a 72 F100. Otherwise, you're just here for the show. Samuel laughed, a sound like gravel under tires, rough but inviting, and rolled up his sleeves. 30 minutes later, the engine purred, and they were sharing a six-pack on Michael's porch swing, stars pricking the sky like hesitant confessions. Samuel talked about Chicago's endless grind, the ex who'd called him too much one too many times. Michael shared fragments of his own scars, the accident, the leaving, the slow climb back. Not the whole truth. Not yet, but enough to feel the pull, like gravity shifting under their feet. By week's end, Samuel was crashing movie nights, his head on Michael's shoulder during old John Hughes flicks, fingers brushing accidental on purpose. Michael, who'd armored himself against this very spark since college hookups that ended in ghosting and shame, found himself unraveling. One rainy Thursday, as thunder rattled the windows, Samuel leaned in during a lull in their pizza-fueled debate over Spielberg's best era. Their lips met soft, tentative, then hungry, like they'd both been starving for years. Michael's hands tangled in Samuel's curls, pulling him closer, tasting salt and promise. It was messy, real, the kind of kiss that rewrote maps. They fell into rhythm fast. Mornings. Samuel sketching at the kitchen table while Michael scanned briefs over oatmeal, stealing bites from each other's bowls. Afternoons. Samuel dragging Michael to the farmer's market, where they'd haggle over heirloom tomatoes and sneak kisses behind the cider stand. Evenings. Tangled in sheets, bodies mapping each other like uncharted territory, whispers turning to gasps that echoed off the walls. Samuel was fire, passionate, unfiltered, with a laugh that chased shadows from Michael's corners. He pushed Michael to dream bigger. Why stop at potholes? Babe, let's make this town a beacon. Michael, in turn, grounded him, showing the quiet beauty in Elmwood's frayed edges, the way the river glittered at dawn, the old folks who slipped him pie at church suppers despite the whispers. But love in Elmwood wasn't a fairy tale. It was a negotiation with ghosts. Whitaker noticed first. His blinds twitched whenever Samuel's Jeep pulled up, and once, Michael caught him muttering spics and fags, loud enough to carry on the wind. Samuel shrugged it off. Old man's got nothing better to do. But Michael saw the flicker of old wounds in his eyes, the ones from Chicago streets where slurs weren't just words. Still, they built their world anyway, weekend hikes in the Hocking Hills, where Samuel proposed they make it official over a shared flask of bourbon at Lover's Leap Overlook. Marry me, Michael. Let's show love wins here too. Michael's heart stuttered, joy laced with terror. As mayor, he knew the optics. Elmwood's first gay wedding could spark progress or a powder keg. But looking at Samuel, wind-tousled and earnest, he nodded. Hell yes. July 20th. Backyard bash. Just us and the stars. Word spread like creek water after a storm. Invites went out to the allies, the librarian who'd stocked those books, the diner owner who'd comped their coffee, a handful of council members who'd quietly voted yes on the Pride booth. Samuel's Chicago crew flew in, a rainbow riot of tattoos and optimism. Michael's sister, Lena, drove down from Toledo with her kids in tow, hugging him fierce. Proud of you, little brother. Dad would've. Well, screw him. This is right. As the date neared, Elmwood buzzed, some with genuine cheer, others with the sour tang of resentment. Petitions circulated at the VFW, Save Our Traditions scrawled in block letters. Anonymous notes slipped under Michael's door. Pervert in City Hall. But he burned them in the sink. Flames dancing like defiance. And held Samuel tighter. The night before the wedding, they lay awake in the guest room. Superstition keeping them apart. Samuel tracing the scar on Michael's side from that long-ago shot. A puckered reminder that had healed crooked. "You ever worry it'll all crash down?" Samuel murmured, voice thick with the vulnerability he rarely showed. Michael pulled him close, breath warm against his temple. "Every damn day. But you're my why. Whatever comes, we face it swinging." Dawn broke clear and golden. July 20th unfolding like a promise. The backyard bloomed with string lights and folding chairs, wildflowers arching over a makeshift altar. Guests milled, laughter cutting the humid air. Lena corralling kids with sparklers, Samuel's best friend toasting with cheap champagne. Michael stood in his tux, borrowed from a council buddy, heart hammering as Samuel appeared at the French doors, radiant in charcoal slim fit, eyes locking on his with that gravity pull smile. Vows were traded like secrets. Michael's voice steady, promising to fight the storms with you. Every thunderclap, Samuel's cracking just once. "You're my home, mi amor." Walls and all, rings slid on, simple silver bands engraved with one elmwood. And the officiant, a no-nonsense judge from Columbus, beamed, "I now pronounce you." Sirens wailed, cutting the cheers like a knife. Tires screeched at the curb, red-blue lights pulsing through the slats of the fence. Guests froze, murmurs rippling as two Elmwood PD cruisers disgorged officers, Jenkins and Ruiz, faces grim under their caps. "Clear the area. Disperse immediately," Jenkins barked, hand on his holster, eyes scanning the unlawful assembly. Samuel's grip tightened on Michael's hand, knuckles white. "What the hell?" Whitaker's voice sliced through from the fence line, shrill and triumphant. "Told you, illegals and deviants turning this into Sodom. Arrest 'em all." The old man stood there, phone clutched like a talisman. His call to dispatch finally answered. Michael's blood iced, betrayal bitter on his tongue. Not just Whitaker's hate, but the slowness of the system, the way Elmwood's finest had rolled out without a second thought. Officers Jenkins and Ruiz pushed through the gate, the creak of hinges amplifying the chaos like a bad Western score. Guests parted like the Red Sea in reverse, backing toward the house, phones whipping out to capture the absurdity. Lena scooped up a toddler, hissing, "This is bullshit. Mikey, call your own damn cops." Samuel's friends clustered, a human shield of glitter-dusted solidarity. One muttering, "Fucking Mayberry meets Stonewall." Michael stepped forward, Tuck's jacket flapping in the breeze off the river, his mayor's poise cracking just enough to let the fire show. "Evening, officers. Care to explain the circus act at my wedding?" His voice carried, calm but edged, the kind he'd honed in council chambers facing down budget hawks. Jenkins blinked, badge glinting under the arbor lights, his partner's hand hovering near the radio. "Mayor Harlan, sir? We got a 10 to 66, disturbing the peace. Potential public nuisance." Neighbor reported. He trailed off, squinting at the clipboard like it held state secrets. Whitaker, emboldened, jabbed a liver-spotted finger over the fence. "They're queers, planning some unholy ritual, flags and floats and God knows what, and that one's probably illegal to boot." Samuel stiffened beside Michael, the slur landing like a slap, but he held his tongue, eyes flashing dark. Michael felt the old rage coil in his chest. the same that had propelled him from that bloodied porch to this pulpit. But he reined it, turning to Whitaker with a smile sharp as barbed wire. "Mr. Whitaker, always a pleasure. But last I checked, love's still legal in Ohio. Unless you've got a veto pen hidden in that bathrobe." The old man sputtered, face purpling like overripe tomatoes from the market. You're one of 'em, mayor or no. This town's got standards. I called it in fair and square, disorderly conduct. Trespassing on decency. Ruiz shifted, uncomfortable, her gaze darting to Samuel's ring, still warm from the vow exchange. Dispatch said possible code violation. Wedding without permit. We gotta verify. She wasn't wrong. Elmwood's ordinances were a relic, requiring backyard events over 50 heads to file paperwork. Michael hadn't arrogance or oversight, call it the hubris of home turf, but it was a slap on the wrist fine, not a raid. "Verify away," Michael said, gesturing grandly to the setup. The cake stand with its lopsided fondant topper, the playlist crooning Frank Sinatra on a Bluetooth speaker. No weapons, no riots. Just cake and commitments. He locked eyes with Jenkins, the man who'd coached his little league team back when Michael's dad was still breathing. "You gonna cuff the mayor at his own wedding, Jim? Or can we chalk this up to Harold's indigestion?" The standoff stretched, air thick as the humidity clinging to their collars. Guests held breath. Samuel's sister filming live to Instagram. Caption already half-typed. Elmwood Stonewall. Whitaker leaned on the fence, wheezing triumph, oblivious to the tide turning. Then, from the crowd, a voice piped up. Tommy Greer, the diner's fry cook, who'd lost his brother to AIDS in the 90s. "Hell no, this is family. You boys back off, or I'll call the Gazette myself." Murmurs swelled to a wave. "Yeah, let 'em be." A chorus of chairs scraping, bodies closing ranks. Jenkins radioed dispatch. "False alarm. Over." His shoulders sagging like deflated balloons. Ruiz holstered her notepad, muttering apologies as they retreated, blue lights flickering out like a bad dream dissolving. Whitaker's howl cut the relief. "Traitors, all of ya, ruining God's country." But the fence rattled as someone, Lena, probably, chucked a bouquet his way, petals exploding like confetti shrapnel. Laughter erupted, ragged and real, as the officiant cleared his throat. "As I was saying, you may now kiss the groom." Michael turned to Samuel, the world narrowing to those obsidian eyes, now shimmering with unshed tears. Their kiss was fierce, sealing not just vows but victories, the kind won in backyards and ballot boxes. Cheers drowned the cicadas, hands clapping Michael's back, Samuel's waist. Cake was cut, toasts slurred into the night. To love, to Elmwood's stubborn heart, to the mayor who loved louder than the haters screamed. But as the stars wheeled overhead, Michael caught Samuel's gaze lingering on the fence, where Whitaker's silhouette slumped away into shadow. "You okay?" Michael whispered, thumb brushing his jaw. Samuel nodded, but his smile didn't reach full wattage. "Yeah. It's close. My abuela used to say hate's like kudzu. Chokes everything if you let it." He leaned in, breath minty from the reception mints. "But we pruned some tonight. Feels good." They danced late, barefoot on dew-kissed grass. Sinatra giving way to Chapel Roan because Samuel insisted. "Gotta keep it current, old man." Michael's feet ached, but his soul soared, the scar on his side a faint echo under starched linen. For the first time since the shotgun's roar, He believed in happy endings, not fairy tale fluff, but the gritty, earned kind. Honeymoon was a long weekend at a cabin in the Smokies, courtesy of Lena's timeshare. They drove south in the Jeep, top down, wind whipping Samuel's curls into a halo. No cell service, just trails and tannins, bodies slick with sweat and stream water. Nights by the fire, Samuel sketched them, pencil strokes capturing Michael's laugh lines, the way his eyes crinkled like autumn leaves. "You're beautiful," Samuel murmured one dusk, as they watched embers die. "Not just the outside. The fight in you, it's sexy as hell." Michael flushed, pulling him onto the rug. Says the guy who turns heads in a truck stop. Their lovemaking was slow that night, exploratory. Fingers tracing tattoos Samuel hid under polos, a hummingbird on his ribcage for his mom, gone too soon to cancer. Michael shared his own ink, a discreet compass on his inner wrist, north to Elmwood, always circling back. Climax built like thunder, release a shared gasp that scattered sparks. Back in Ohio by Monday, reality reasserted council agendas, Samuel's freelance deadlines. But the wedding's afterglow lingered, a buffer against the grind. Michael pushed a Unity Day event at the fairgrounds, framing it as celebrating all Elmwood families. Uptake was slow, booths for the youth group, a drag story hour that drew protests, but attendance ticked up, faces Michael recognized from pews and polls. Whitaker, though, wasn't done. Letters poured into City Hall. "Resign, Harlan. Your lifestyle mocks our veterans." Phone tips to the paper alleged favoritism in Michael's anti-discrimination ordinance tweaks. Samuel found one taped to their mailbox. "Go back to Mexico. Spick. Take your groom with you." He crumpled it without a word, but Michael saw the tremor in his hands over dinner. Tacos from a kit, irony not lost. "We report it," Michael said. Fork paused midair. "Hate crime. Can't let him slide." Samuel's laugh was hollow. "And what? Slap his wrist? Elmwood's not Chicago. They'll say I provoked it." He pushed his plate away, eyes distant. "I love you, Mike. But sometimes I wonder if I'm dragging you under." Michael crossed the table, kneeling to frame Samuel's face. "Hey, you're lifting me." Every day, their kiss was salt-tanged, desperate, a reaffirmation in the face of fraying edges. Weeks blurred into fall, leaves turning, air crisping. Samuel landed a gig designing for a Cleveland nonprofit, Pride merch that funded shelters. Michael navigated a budget crisis, haggling over school funds while dodging Whitaker's latest petition drive. "Recall the mayor, restore decency." Signatures mounted 200, then 5, but polls held steady. Elmwood's younger crowd rallying online with Harlan hearts. Then the betrayal landed like a sucker punch. Councilman Ellis, Michael's old mentor, a silver-haired vet who'd mentored him through law school, pulled him aside after a session. "Son, off the record. Whitaker's got dirt. Photos from your wedding. Leaked to the press." Michael's stomach dropped. "What photos?" Ellis winced, sliding a manila envelope across the oak desk. Inside, grainy shots, time-stamped July 20th. Michael and Samuel mid-kiss, guests blurred but identifiable. But worse, the angles, the timestamps suggesting surveillance, not snapshots. "He paid a PI, Mike. And, hell, I advised against it, but he twisted my arm. Said it was for the good of the town." Betrayal burned hot, Ellis's face crumpling like wet paper. I thought it'd fizzle. I'm sorry. Michael's fist clenched the envelope, knuckles whitening. You thought wrong. He stormed out, the town square blurring past, pumpkin displays mocking the rot inside. Home. Samuel was at the easel, lost in a mural for Unity Day, fists linked in a chain of colors. Michael thrust the photos down. This is what we're up against. Samuel scanned them, color draining. Jesus. He stalked us, fury sparked, then dimmed to something rawer, fear, the kind that whispered of packing up, running like Michael once had. Mike. Maybe we cool it public. No more events. Let it die. No. Michael's voice cracked, but resolve hardened it. We don't hide. Not anymore. He pulled Samuel close, hearts hammering syncopated. Ellis betrayed us. Whitaker's poison. But us, we're Elmwood's future. We fight. That night, they made love like warriors. Fierce, reclaiming, bodies a battlefield of trust rebuilt. Samuel's moans were affirmations. Michael's thrusts a vow. No surrender. Unity Day dawned crisp. October sun gilding the fairgrounds. Booths bustled. Apple bobbing for kids. Voter reg for millennials. Michael's speech was short. Elmwood's strength isn't in walls or whispers. It's in us together. Applause thundered, drowning the smattering of jeers from Whitaker's contingent. Signs hoisted like shields. No to sin. Samuel manned the merch table, hawking teas with love grows here in bold script. Sales soared. Even a few from skeptics, old Mrs. Hargrove, who'd baked their wedding pie, buying 3. But as dusk fell, fireworks prepped, Whitaker made his move. Megaphone in hand, he climbed the stage steps uninvited, voice booming, "This mockery ends. Harlan's a fraud. Look at these." He flung printed photos into the crowd, copies of the surveillance shots fluttering like poisoned confetti. Gasps rippled. Phones clicked. Samuel vaulted the table, reaching Michael midstage, hand finding his in the flash storm. Whitaker crowed, "Proof! Deviance in power." Michael snatched the mic. Voice steel. "Proof of love. Herald. Proof that hate needs cameras because it can't stand the light." Cheers erupted. A wall of sound that shoved Whitaker back. Megaphone dangling limp. The fallout from Unity Day hit like a nor'easter, swift, unrelenting, churning Elmwood's undercurrents into froth. By morning, the Gazette's front page screamed, "Mayor Harlan's secret wedding? Scandal or symbol?" Photos splashed large. Captions hedging with alleged privacy breach. Online, Elmwood Exposed trended locally. A hydra of comments. Supporters flooding with hearts and "about time." Detractors spewing vitriol that ranged from biblical quotes to slurs that made Michael's jaw clench over his screen. City Hall became a foxhole. Calls jammed lines, half praise, half pitchforks demanding resignation. Council scheduled emergency session. Ellis conspicuously absent. His flu excuse thinner than Elmwood's winter coat. Michael fielded it all from his office. The Victorians' gingerbread trim mocking the siege outside. Picketers with "Impeach the Imposter" placards, led by Whitaker, who now fancied himself town crier. Samuel held the fort at home, fielding media from CNN affiliates sniffing Cleveland air for a hook. "Babe, they're calling it the kiss heard round Ohio." He texted, a winky emoji belying the strain. Michael replied with a heart, but his thumbs trembled. Fear not for himself, but for Samuel, whose freelance gigs now pinged with hesitant clients. Love the work, but optics. Nights were their sanctuary. Curled on the couch, Samuel's head in Michael's lap, fingers idly twisting the silver band. "Remember the Smokies?" Samuel murmured, voice soft against the TV's murmur, a rom-com they'd paused midway. No signals, just us. Feels like a lifetime. Michael stroked his hair, inhaling the citrus of his shampoo. We'll get back there after this blows over. But doubt not, Whitaker's recall petition hit 1,000 signatures. Enough for ballot. Polls dipped. Even Eli's whispered strategic pause on the pride pushes. The real gut punch came midweek. A knock at dawn. Ruiz on the stoop. Uniform crisp. Expression graver than the wedding raid. Mayor off record. Found this in dispatch logs. She slid a USB drive across the welcome mat. Whitaker's call wasn't isolated. He's been tipping off patrols, your jogs, Samuel's market runs. Suspicious activity, and ties to Ellis. Campaign donations, backroom deals to block your ordinances. Michael's vision tunneled, betrayal layering like sediment. Why tell me now? Ruiz glanced over her shoulder, patrol car idling. Because that wedding reminded me why I signed up. Protect and serve all of us. Don't let the old guard win. She nodded to Samuel, hovering in the doorway, and left, taillights fading into mist. Inside, Michael plugged the drive emails, timestamps painting a picture of quiet sabotage. Ellis funneling Whitaker intel on Michael's schedule. Whitaker repaying with votes for pet projects like a heritage monument that whitewashed Elmwood's Coaltown sins. Samuel paced, fists balled. That son of a, after everything? You mentored him. Worse, Michael said, voice hollow. He mentored me. The scar on his side itched. A phantom echo of paternal betrayal revisited. They burned the drive's printouts in the fireplace that night, flames devouring evidence like absolution. But the ash lingered, gray reminder that trust, once charred, left scorch marks. Samuel pulled him to bed early, bodies seeking solace in familiarity. Undressing Michael slow, lips mapping collarbones, ribs, the dip of hips. Let me remind you, Samuel whispered, hands sure as he guided Michael down, mouth hot and reverent. Pleasure built deliberate. Michael's gasps a litany of surrender. Fingers in Samuel's curls, back arching off sheets. Release came shuddering, Samuel swallowing every tremor. Eyes locked in wordless vow. I'm here. Always. After, tangled and spent, Samuel traced Michael's jaw. We expose it. The logs, the donations go public. Michael hesitated, the politician's calculus warring with the husband's heart. Ruins Ellis. And Whitaker, he'll spin it as witch hunt. Fuck spin, Samuel said. Fire rekindled. It's truth. And truth's our weapon. By Friday, they had a plan, presser at noon, armed with redacted logs, counsel from a Columbus firm pro bono for the cause. Michael rehearsed in the mirror, lines blurring between mayor and man. Elmwood deserves transparency, not backroom bigotry. Samuel watched from the bed, pride softening his edges. You'll kill it. Like you kill everything, quiet, deadly. The presser drew a circus. Local stringers, a Columbus Dispatch hack, even a podcaster with a rainbow mic flag. Cameras whirred as Michael took the podium in the square, Samuel at his elbow, hand brushing covert for strength. Folks, Elmwood's at a crossroads. He began, voice carrying crisp over the chill wind. Not just potholes or budgets, but who we are. Recent events, my wedding, the protests exposed not just hate, but corruption. He laid it out. Donations, tips, the web of influence Whitaker and Ellis wove to undermine progress. Gasps from the crowd, tourists gawking, locals murmuring. Whitaker burst through late, megaphone holstered for once, face thunderous. Lies, smear campaign from the Pansy Palace. Security Jenkins, now ally, escorted him back, gentle but firm. Ellis never showed. Rumor had it he'd tendered resignation by fax, fleeing to a cousin's in Florida. Questions flew. Impact on recall? Hate crime charges? Michael fielded steady. Justice, not vengeance. Let's heal. Samuel squeezed his hand off Mike. Whisper hot. Proud doesn't cover it. Healing, though, was a jagged path. Recall qualified for November ballot. Whitaker's army undeterred. Door to door with flyers doctored to blur the photos into something salacious. Samuel's gigs dried up. One client emailed, appreciate the talent, but our board's conservative. He hid the hurt, throwing into runs that left him limping. But Michael caught the late-night sketches dark, abstract swirls of chains breaking. Winter crept in, first snow dusting Maple Lane like powdered regret. Holidays loomed. Michael's family gathering in Toledo, Lena's table set for 8. But Samuel begged off. Chicago pull. Abuela's tamales calling. Truth was the strain. Slurs shouted from passing trucks. Fag mayor, echoed his old wounds. Michael drove him to the airport anyway. Kiss lingering at security like a lifeline. 2 weeks. Then we hibernate, mulled wine. Bad hallmark. You in that ugly sweater. Samuel's grin was effort. Deal. Love you, Mayor Heartbreaker. Solitude amplified the siege. Michael campaigned solo, town halls where questions veered from sewers to sodomites. His answers measured. Love's not a policy. It's human. Whitaker countered with rallies at the VFW. 80 souls strong, chanting traditional values under tattered flags. Polls seesawed. 48% hold, 52 against. Margin of error a noose. Christmas Eve. Alone with takeout lo mein and a tree-strung half-assed. Michael cracked. The shotgun's echo resurfaced in dreams. Blood on white cotton. Father's eyes. Regret or rage. He woke sweating. Dialing Samuel at 2 a.m. Chicago time. Miss you. Loud here. Samuel's voice. Sleepy thick. Tell me. So he did the isolation. The fear of losing not just the seat but Samuel. The town he'd rebuilt brick by hate-torn brick. What if they win? What if I drag you into this mess? Silence. Then, you don't drag. You lead. And if we lose, we build elsewhere. But Elmwood, it's in you, Mike. Fight for it, for us. The line crackled with his resolve. A tether across states. Michael slept after. Dreamless. Waking to Lena's call. Get your ass here tomorrow. Samuel's flying in surprise. Don't ruin it. Reunion at Lena's was chaos. Kids tackling legs. Turkey carving contests. Samuel's arms wrapping Michael from behind in the kitchen. Whisper. Told you I'd come home. Gifts exchanged. Michael unwrapped a custom compass necklace. Etched, True North Samar. Samuel got a leather-bound journal. For the stories we'll tell our kids. Bio or adopted. Laughter flowed. Toasts to the Harlan's Reyes empire. But under it, the election loomed like a storm front. New Year's brought resolve. Samuel quit freelancing cold, diving into campaign design, posters of diverse Elmwood faces. Slogan: one heart, one home. They canvassed together, knocking on doubters' doors. Michael with policy, Samuel with stories, his abuela's Ellis Island grit. The Chicago nights he'd danced through danger. Doors cracked wider. A few bless yous slipped out. Betrayal's echoes faded, but scars itched. Ellis surfaced in a tearful email. Forgive an old fool? Donated to your pack. Anonymous. Michael deleted it unread, but forwarded funds to the youth shelter. Karma's a quiet bitch, he told Samuel over whiskey. January thawed the snow but not the tension. Debates aired on public access. Michael versus Whitaker. Moderator a neutral Rotary clubber. Whitaker blustered. Elmwood's Christian. Your parades mock that. Michael countered cool. Faith's personal. Harold. Government's for everyone. Even you. Views spiked. Youth turnout pledges soared. Samuel's support was oxygen. Mornings with coffee kisses. Evenings with massages that turned amorous. Bodies rediscovering amid stress lines. One night, post-debate high, Samuel pushed him against the fridge. Hands roaming urgent. You're a goddamn hero, he growled, dropping to knees, mouth enveloping with heat that arched Michael's world. Pleasure crested fast. Samuel's name a chant. Release a flood of tension sluiced. February's primary loomed, but cracks showed in Whitaker's facade, health flagging, rallies thinning as winter gripped. A local pastor defected. Pulpit plea. Love thy neighbor, really. Polls tipped. 51 for Michael. Yet doubt whispered. Samuel confided over late-night tea. Dreamt we lost. You left again, like after the shot. Michael held him, heart aching. Not happening. We're rooted. The primary dawned gray and spitting sleet. Elmwood's polling stations hunkered like old sentinels under leaden skies. Michael voted early, Samuel at his side. Booth curtains whispering shut on ballots marked with quiet conviction. Outside, lines snaked past salt-streaked sidewalks. Faces a mosaic. The librarian with her vote love pin. A Whitaker diehard in camo muttering prayers. Young parents with strollers. Eyes hopeful on Samuel's flyers. They waited out the count at the diner. Tommy Greer's domain. Booth crammed with Lena. Ruiz off-duty in civvies. A spread of pie slices going cold. TV flickered results. Precincts rolling in. Red-blue maps flickering like a bipolar heartbeat. 90% in. The anchor droned. Voice syrup slow. Michael gripped Samuel's thigh under the table. Thumb circling denim. Anchor to the churn. Then, Harlan holds. 53%. Cheers erupted, forks clattering. Ruiz whooping as she high-fived Tommy. Samuel's kiss was fierce, public, drawing whistles. Whitaker conceded via voicemail, raspy and rancorous. This ain't over, Harlan. Lord's got plans, but the diner crowd drowned it in refills, toasts clinking. To the mayor and his better half. Victory tasted bittersweet, relief laced with the knowledge that wins were waypoints, not destinations. Elmwood exhaled, but scars lingered. Whitaker's house went up for sale. For sale sign a white flag in his yard. Rumors of assisted living in Dayton. Ellis faded into obscurity. A cautionary tale at council happy hours. Michael pushed forward. Ordinance for hate speech reporting. Funding for community mediators. progress incremental, like Elmwood's thawing fields. Samuel bloomed in the thaw. His designs caught a Columbus agency's eye, billboards for a pride festival, bold lines that screamed inclusion. Gigs trickled back, then flooded. He rented studio space downtown, easel by the window overlooking the river. Our empire expands, he joked, but his eyes shone earnest. Evenings, he'd drag Michael to life drawing classes, nude models twisting under fluorescence, Samuel's sketches capturing vulnerability Michael envied. See, art's like us, raw, real, unbreakable. Their love deepened in domestic rhythms. Sunday suppers with Lena's crew, kids calling Michael Uncle Mike, Samuel Tio Sammy, tugging for piggybacks. Vacations planned, a Portland road trip, rainbow flags fluttering from porches like welcomes home. Intimacy evolved too, less frantic, more exploratory. Lazy Sundays with oil and exploration, Samuel's laugh bubbling as Michael's fingers found new paths, pleasure a shared geography mapped in moans. But undercurrents stirred. Spring brought a letter, anonymous, postmarked Chicago. Samuel, your past caught up. X knows about the mayor. Leverage. Michael's gut twisted. Samuel paled reading it aloud. Old breakup wounds reopening like poorly stitched seams. Javier, my ex. Toxic as hell. Probably bluffing. Or not. Michael paced the kitchen. Linoleum creaking. We lawyer up. Block him. Samuel nodded. But shadows clung. Nights where he'd startle awake, whispering Javier's name like a curse. Michael held him through it. Bodies entwined. Lovemaking a bomb. Slow grinds turning urgent. Samuel's cries muffled in shoulder. Release a exorcism of ghosts. Javier surfaced weeks later, email chain leaked to the Gazette. Screenshots of texts. Miss you, Sammy. Heard you're playing house with a suit. We could do better, expose the truth. Michael's blood boiled. Samuel's resolve hardened. They went public again, presser framing it as harassment from afar, Ruiz's department issuing a no contact. Javier slunk back, but the incident scarred. Trust's fragility, love's exposure. Summer rolled in humid and healing. 4th of July. They hosted a block party on Maple Lane. Whitaker's old place sold to a young couple from Akron. Rainbow flag winking from their porch. Grills smoked. Kids chased lightning bugs. Samuel DJing a playlist that bridged Sinatra to Sam Smith. Michael watched him laugh. Beer in hand. Heart swelling. This man. This life worth every shotgun echo. Fall elections loomed larger. State Senate run. Michael's name floated by party brass. Elmwood's ready, they said. Samuel encouraged. Go big. Show him. But doubt flickered. Nights debating over wine. Samuel's fingers lacing his. What if it's too much? The spotlight. Then we dim it together. Michael's kiss sealed it. Deepening to hands under shirts. Bodies stumbling to the rug. Passion reignited. Samuel topping for once. Rhythm confident. Eyes locked in challenge acquiescence. Ecstasy crested shared. Sweat slick vows whispered post-glow. Campaign kicked off crisp October. Rallies blending policy with personal. From shotgun scars to statehouse stairs, progress demands courage. Crowds swelled. Columbus commuters. Rural holdouts swayed by Samuel's visuals. Murals of linked hands spanning districts. Whitaker's absence loomed ghostly. Word had it he'd passed in June. Obituary noting, staunch community advocate. The Gazette's polite fiction. Opposition dug dirt. Ads questioning Michael's divisive wedding, poles tightening to razor edge. Samuel's ex stayed buried, but new whispers, anonymous tips alleging influence peddling from the old Ellis days. Michael sweated briefings, voice hoarse from stump speeches. Climax brewed election night eve, a whistleblower email, time-stamped midnight, council aides spilling on a rival's Whitaker ties, fabricated smears funded by dark money. Michael stared at the screen, Samuel over his shoulder. Trap or gift? Gift. They leaked it, anonymous drop to dispatch. Morning edition exploding. Senate race scandal. Opponents hate ties. Backlash swift. Rivals camp crumbling. Endorsements flipping. Polls surged. Victory all but sealed. Dawn of results. They voted side by side again. Samuel's hand steady in Michael's. Watch party at a Columbus hotel. Bubbly popping as districts lit blue. Harlan wins. 62%. Confetti rained. Hugs engulfed. Samuel's kiss salt-laced with tears. State Senator Harlan Reyes. Damn. Babe. Senate swearing in was January pomp. Columbus Capitol gleaming. Michael's hand on a Bible held by Samuel. Vow echoing. I do solemnly swear. Flashbulbs popped. Samuel's pride a beacon in the gallery. But humanism's quiet core surfaced later. Back in Elmwood for a breather. A letter arrived, Whitaker's estate executor. Enclosing a check. Harold's final wish. Donate to your youth program. He watched the wedding from afar. Said, boys got grit. No apology, but a crack in the armor. Michael framed it, hung by their bed. Redemption's messy. Samuel traced the ink. Like us. Years unfolded in waves. Senate bills for equality. Samuel's gallery shows touring coasts. They adopted twin boys from foster care. Dark curls and curious eyes. Home christened with backyard vows renewed. Mornings chaotic with cereal spills. Evening story time where Michael's shotgun tale softened to Daddy's Brave Choice. 1 July 20th. Anniversary under the same arbor, now weathered. Wildflowers receded. They danced slow. Boys tucked in upstairs. 10 years, Samuel murmured, cheek to Michael's. Worth the freeze, Michael laughed. Scar a faint memory. Every cop, every call. You, Samuel's eyes. Still obsidian sharp. Frozen? Not. We thawed the world. Decades mark brought reflections unbidden. Like autumn leaves skittering across Maple Lane. Beautiful in descent, but harbingers of change. Michael, at 45, wore the Senate like a well-tailored suit. Gray threading his temples, laugh lines etching deeper, but the fire undimmed. Bills bore his name, Ohio's first comprehensive anti-discrimination act. Youth mental health grants that funneled millions to rural shadows like Elmwoods. He keynote pride events coast to coast. Voice gravelly from podiums. Love isn't partisan. It's patriotic. Samuel thrived parallel, studio evolved to agency. Reyes designs branding nonprofits from Appalachia to the Aleutians. Murals dotted Elmwood. A riverwalk tribute to unbroken spirits. Fists and flowers interlocking. Fatherhood suited him fierce. Coaching soccer with dramatic flair. Bedtime tales spun from Chicago grit into fables of resilience. The twins, Mateo and Luca, aged 8 now, navigated school with Michael's poise and Samuel's spark. Playground scuffles over 2 dads. Met with shrugs and, yeah, and we're awesome. Home was anchor, a Victorian expanded with playroom nooks. Kitchen island scarred from Luca's experiments. Mornings. Chaos symphony of backpacks zipping. Samuel flipping pancakes while Michael packed lunches. Stolen kisses amid syrup spills. Senator sticky fingers, Samuel teased, licking jam from Michael's jaw. Evenings. Board games dissolving into tickle wars. Boys' giggles chasing the day's weight. But romance endured, nurtured, deliberate. Date nights escaped to Cleveland bistros, Samuel in silk shirts that hugged his still-toned frame, Michael's hand possessive on his knee under linen cloths. Hotel suites afterward, candles flickering, bodies rediscovering with the ease of old lovers. Samuel's mouth tracing Senate stress knots from Michael's shoulders, hands guiding slow, deep unions where gasps wove into whispers. Still mine, climaxes layered emotional, afterglows tangled in sheets. Planning trips to Portland's food carts or Samuel's abuela's old village in Oaxaca. Challenges ebbed but persisted. Senate gridlock on national protections. A colleague's joke about special interests landing like a barb. Samuel's agency hit turbulence. A client pullout over woke optics, echoing old freelance droughts. The boys faced microslurs. Luca's teacher sidestepping family tree projects. Mateo's bully mimicking Whitaker's ghost with weird family. They parented through family meetings with ice cream bribes. Michael's stories of shotgun resilience reframed as standing tall. Samuel's sketches turning pain to power. Capes on stick figures battling dragons labeled hate. A crisis crested unexpectedly. Spring 2035. Michael 48. Samuel 43. Redistricting carved elmwood from his seat. Party brass urging a safe urban jump. Bigger stage, they urged. But Michael balked. Roots tugging. Elmwood made me. Samuel supported silent. But tension simmered. Late dinners cooling untouched. Touches lingering hesitant. The breaking point. A Columbus fundraiser. Schmoozers circling like sharks. Samuel, dragged along in a borrowed tux, endured small talk laced with side eyes. Your husband's quite the advocate. How's that work at home? He texted Michael mid-mingling. Need air. Meet outside. On the balcony. City lights sprawling indifferent. Samuel's voice cracked. Mike. This world's eating you. The boys ask why Daddy's always gone. Michael pulled him close. Skyline blurring. It's for them, for the fights we started. Samuel's eyes. Weary. But at what cost? Whitaker's dead. Ellis dust. We've won small. Why chase giants? Words hung. They drove home silent. Jeeps hum a void. Bed that night was chased. Backs turned. Space a chasm. Dawn brought reckoning. Michael over coffee. Voice rough. You're right. Senate's a treadmill. Let's step off. Samuel's relief flooded. Arms wrapping tight. Back to Elmwood? Mayor again. Or nothing. Just us. Decision rippled. Resignation letter drafted. Party stunned but supportive. Heroes exit. They relocated fully. Michael consulting for rural equity NGOs. Samuel expanding the agency local workshops for foster kids. Art as armor. Reentry to Elmwood was bomb. Town fair ribbon cutting. Michael's speech short. Home isn't a district. It's heart. Applause genuine. No protests. Whitaker's legacy kudzu cleared. The boys thrived. Soccer goals. School plays where two dads earned cheers. Family vacations shifted. Camping Hocking Hills. Samuel's abuela's recipes over campfires. Stories bridging generations. Anniversaries marked milestones. 15th under the arbor. Now strung with LED stars. Boys reciting vows they'd memorized giggling. To fight storms, Mateo piped. Luca adding, "And eat cake." Laughter cascaded, cake smeared on cheeks. Intimacy deepened, wiser, less urgency, more reverence. Baths drawn steaming, Samuel's hands soaping Michael's back, evolving to fingers probing gentle, prostate spark drawing moans that built languid. Orgasms unfolded shared, waves cresting in harmony, post-bliss talks tracing futures, college funds, grandkids maybe, a cabin in the Smokies for retirement romps. Humanism crystallized in quiet acts. Michael volunteering at the youth center, now Harlan Reyes' house, counseling kids with scars like his, shotgun or otherwise. Samuel's murals included Whitaker's silhouette, faded but present. Even haters heal. In time, one boy, trans and trembling, clutched Michael's hand. "You get it. Being different." Michael nodded, throat tight. "Difference the spark. Own it." Legacy wove subtle. Elmwood's Pride Parade drew thousands. Floats rainbowing Main Street. Michael and Samuel marched hand in hand. Boys on shoulders waving flags. Lena hollering from sidelines. No cops freezing, just cheers. A town thawed. Evening of their 20th, July 20th, 2045. Backyard aglow. Now with grandkids' crayon drawings framed on fences. Dinner al fresco. Grilled corn. Samuel's salsa zingy. Wine flowing loose. Boys. Teens now. Teased. Old men still smooch? Michael pulled Samuel up. Dance under strings. Damn right. Later. Kids abed or scattered to friends. They slipped to the porch swing, creak familiar as breath. Samuel's head on Michael's shoulder. Fingers laced. 20 years. From cops at the gate to this. Michael kissed his temple. Scar long forgotten. Worth the shot. Samuel chuckled. Lo. Every bullet dodged. Their kiss lingered. Soft as twilight. Deepening to hands wandering familiar paths. Up shirts. Over belts. Swing rocking subtle. Pleasure stirred unhurried. Release a quiet crest under stars. Bodies spent in embrace. Elmwood slept around them. River murmuring approval. Love. Dramatic once. Now steady current, romantic in routines. Emotional in echoes. Humanistic in the grace of letting go. They'd frozen time. Thawed hearts. And in that, found eternity. Epilogue whispers, years later, at Harlan Reyes' house dedication. Michael, gray fully, cane tapping, raises a toast. To the neighbors who called cops, and the grooms who called bluffs. Here's to us. All frozen moments melted into memory. Crowd hushes, then erupts. Samuel, beside, squeezes his hand, eternal.